In the quiet town of Pineville, nestled between two rugged hills, nothing extraordinary ever seemed to happen until one summer night changed everything. It began with a knock at the door, a phone call from an unknown number, and a voice that knew her name. Susan Archer, a mother of two, found herself pulled into a chilling mystery when a young newcomer vanished without a trace. The deeper she looked, the more unsettling it became. All signs pointed to one place: Triek Industries, the shadowy company where her husband worked. But what was Triek really hiding? And what was Project Solstice, the name buried deep in classified documents and whispered in fear? As the town grew quieter and neighbors began to watch their backs, Susan uncovered a secret that could destroy everything. Let me take you inside the story that changed Pineville forever. Pineville was the kind of place that seemed frozen in time. A small, isolated town tucked between two rugged hills, it thrived on routine and quiet days. The streets were lined with modest homes, the kind with porches where neighbors waved as they passed by. Life in Pineville moved slowly, predictably, and for most, that was just the way they liked it. Nothing strange ever happened here. No big city drama, no dark secrets. Or so it seemed. Susan Archer had built a peaceful life in Pineville with her husband Tim and their two children. She spent her days balancing motherhood with the gentle rhythm of the town: school drop-offs, grocery runs, bedtime stories. Tim worked for a company called Triek Industries, located just outside the town limits. It wasn't a place people talked about much, and most didn't know exactly what went on behind its guarded gates. Still, it paid well, and in Pineville, that was good enough. Everything in Susan's life was normal, comfortably uneventful, until one night when something shifted. It was subtle at first, just a feeling in the air, a heaviness in the silence. She couldn't explain it, but deep down, she knew. The peace she had always trusted in Pineville was beginning to crack, and something was waiting in the shadows. It was the last day of summer, and Pineville was settling into its usual nighttime stillness. The streets were empty, the breeze soft, and the distant hum of crickets filled the air. Inside her cozy home, Susan Archer had just tucked her kids into bed. Her husband, Tim, was out of town on business, leaving her alone to lock up for the night. It was just past 10:30 p.m. when she heard it: a knock at the front door. Slow, deliberate, unexpected. No one ever knocked this late in Pineville. Susan hesitated, her hand hovering near the doorknob. Before she could look through the peephole, the knock came again, louder this time. She opened the door cautiously, and a sudden gust of cold air rushed in, brushing past her like a warning. But the porch was empty. No footsteps, no car. Just the dark, silent street staring back at her. Shaken, Susan locked the door, twice, and made her way back toward her room. That's when her phone rang. The number was unknown. Her fingers moved on their own, answering before she could think. "Hello?" she whispered. A distorted voice replied, low and unnerving. "You should have closed the door sooner, Susan." Her breath caught. Her heart thudded in her chest. The line went dead. She bolted to her children's rooms, checking on them one by one. Both were fast asleep, safe and unaware. She locked their doors from the inside, her mind spinning. She told herself it was just a prank, just someone messing around. But deep down, she knew something was very, very wrong. 2 days after that chilling phone call, Tim returned from his business trip. But he wasn't alone. With him was a young man named Jared, a newly hired employee at Triek Industries. Tim introduced him casually, saying he was just helping the new guy settle into town. Jared seemed polite enough, but the moment he stepped into their home, something about him felt off. His eyes lingered too long on everything: the pictures on the walls, the layout of the rooms, even Susan herself. It was as if he was memorizing every inch of their home, storing it away for some unknown reason. He didn't say much, but when he did, his words felt hollow, like he was choosing them carefully. Susan tried to shake the feeling. Maybe he was just shy. Maybe he was overwhelmed by the move. But her gut said otherwise, especially when she caught him the next day, standing silently at the edge of their property, staring up at their bedroom windows. She told Tim about it that night, whispered to him in bed that Jared made her uncomfortable, that something didn't feel right. Tim just chuckled softly and brushed it off. "He's probably just nervous about the job," he said. "Don't worry, honey." But Susan did worry, and just a week later, her worst fear came true. Jared disappeared. No goodbyes, no note, no signs of struggle. His apartment looked untouched, clothes still in boxes, fridge fully stocked, not a single item missing. It was as if he had never existed at all, and no one in Pineville had an answer. But Susan knew. She felt it in her bones. Jared didn't just leave. Something, or someone, made him disappear. After Jared's disappearance, something shifted in Pineville. It wasn't loud or obvious, but the town felt different. The streets seemed quieter. People spoke in hushed tones, casting glances over their shoulders as if afraid of being overheard. The air held a weight Susan couldn't explain, like the whole town was holding its breath. And always, always, the name Triek Industries hovered in the background like a shadow. The massive facility sat on the outskirts of Pineville, fenced off, lined with cameras, and guarded by men who never spoke a word to anyone outside. No one really knew what went on behind those steel walls. Some believed it was a research center. Others whispered about government contracts and black ops. But no one had answers, only theories. Susan's unease deepened. The phone calls, Jared's vanishing, the way Triek loomed over everything. It couldn't be a coincidence. She tried bringing it up to Tim, hoping he'd give her something, anything. But he brushed it all aside, saying Jared probably got cold feet and left. "It's not our problem," he told her. "Let it go." But Susan couldn't let it go. She saw the fear in Tim's eyes when she pushed too hard, and that only made her more determined. There was something wrong in Pineville, something tied to Triek. And the more she searched, the more certain she became. Because some secrets in Pineville don't stay buried for long, especially the ones that were never meant to be found. Unable to ignore the gnawing suspicion any longer, Susan waited until Tim left the house and slipped into his home office, a place she rarely entered. She searched through drawers and folders, desperate for answers. That's when she found it. A plain manila folder buried beneath paperwork, marked only with 2 words, Project Solstice. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Inside were heavily redacted documents, page after page blacked out, but the words that remained were enough to turn her blood cold. Human trials. Classified testing. Unaccounted casualties. Susan's breath caught in her throat. What was Tim involved in? What was Triek really doing? That night she confronted him. She held the folder in her hands and demanded the truth. For the first time, Tim didn't have a dismissive smile. He froze. Fear flickered in his eyes. "You don't understand," he whispered. "It's bigger than us, Susan. Just let it go." But Susan couldn't let it go. Not now. She tried reaching out to other Triek employees, desperate for clarity. Every door she knocked on was slammed shut. No one would talk. Everyone was scared. Then, another phone call. The same distorted voice. This time, it was colder, more direct. "You're in too deep now. Stay away from Triek, or you'll end up like Jared." The warning was clear. But to Susan, it only confirmed what she already knew. This wasn't just a company. It was something much darker. And now, she was a threat to it. The next day, As Susan watched the Triek building from a distance, a black SUV pulled up behind her. A man in a suit stepped out and approached her window. "Mrs. Archer," he said calmly, "you need to come with us." Her instincts screamed to run, but something in his eyes told her he wasn't there to hurt her. He was offering answers. The ride was silent. Susan's mind raced with questions, fear twisting in her gut. They drove to a remote warehouse on the edge of town, far from prying eyes. The man led her down narrow hallways until they reached a door marked "Restricted." He turned to her, his face unreadable. "What you're about to see can't leave this room." Inside, Susan found herself in a surveillance center. Wall after wall of monitors displayed live feeds from around Pineville. Homes, parks, streets, even her own living room. Her breath caught. "What is this?" she whispered. "They've been watching everyone for years," the man said quietly. "Triek isn't just a company. It's a control system. Every person, every move, every thought, they want it all." Susan stared in horror at a feed of her children playing in their rooms, completely unaware. She turned to the man, her voice shaking. "Why? Because control means power," he answered. Jared found out the truth. He tried to escape. He paused, his tone darkening. They couldn't let him. Susan's heart pounded. Now she knew the truth, and that meant only one thing. She was next. The man looked Susan in the eyes, his voice low and serious. "You have two choices," he said. "Leave tonight, disappear, or stay, and end up like Jared." The weight of his words crushed her chest. Everything in her life, her home, her children, her husband, flashed through her mind. Could she really just walk away? She tried to speak, but the words caught in her throat. "What about my kids?" she finally whispered. The man hesitated. "They'll be watched, but safe, as long as you're gone. Triek only sees you as the threat now." Susan's heart broke in two. The thought of leaving her children, of missing their laughter, their birthdays, every moment, was almost too much to bear. But she knew the truth. If she stayed, they'd be in danger. And that was something she could never allow. With tears streaming down her face, she nodded. "Okay, I'll do it." The man handed her a small black bag. Cash, a new phone, a location to start over. "Go far. Go now. Don't look back." Hours later, Susan stood at the edge of Pineville, watching the lights of her quiet little town fade into the distance. Her phone buzzed one last time. A message lit up the screen. Just a single number. 13. She didn't know what it meant, but she knew this was far from over. And somewhere, in the shadows of Pineville, someone was still watching. As Susan disappeared into the night, her phone buzzed with one final message. 13. No name, no context. Just a number. But it was enough to send a new wave of fear down her spine. The story wasn't over. Not yet. In Pineville, the quietest streets hide the loudest secrets. And sometimes, the only way to survive is to vanish. So now, I'll leave you with one chilling question. Would you leave everything behind to protect the ones you love? So, what do you think Project Solstice was really about? Was it a secret government operation, or something far darker? What did Triek Industries truly want, and what happened to those who tried to uncover the truth? I'd love to hear your theories. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss part 2 or more chilling stories like this one. Stay tuned, and remember, some mysteries are never meant to be solved.